Good evening. Welcome to the May 20th City Council meeting. Mayor Hoffman's not able to be here tonight, so I get to be her backup. So thank you all for being here tonight. Please stand and join us for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Dan Jansen.
Let us pray. Good and gracious Heavenly Father, as I lift my brother and sister up in prayer, I want to thank you for family. Lord, teach us and let us learn how to love one another like we love family. Lord, we thank you for your love for us as it surpasses no other. Lord, I just ask you to be with this community. Put your blessing in your hands upon them. Let us live in a biblical community. And Lord, put your hands over our first responders as they protect our peace. Lord, I want to thank you for salvation as well. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is called to order. Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Golding,
Here.
Councilmember Horn,
Here.
Councilmember Jansen,
Here.
Councilmember Meza,
Here.
Councilmember Sutton,
Here.
Councilmember Wagner,
Here.
Mayor Hoffman.
Moving to approval of minutes, item A.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the regular city council meeting held on May 6th, 2024. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? With no discussion, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Approval of item B.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the city council briefing held on May 13th, 2024. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Announcements. Okay, I have announcements. First of all, I want to mention that this past Friday, I had the honor of participating in a tabletop hurricane exercise that the city does every year in preparation for hurricane season. And this was led by our fire marshal, Steve Shadow, and I just want to say he did a great job. It was really a great experience, and I hope that our citizens can rest assured that our city is prepared for emergencies in our community. This tabletop exercise brought together city departments, emergency management teams like from Jacksonville's EOC and JFRD, and community partners like Baptist Beaches and Pablo Towers, which are all really important for us to be communicating with if there's an emergency. And with a simulated scenario that Fire Marshal Shadow set up, all the departments collaborated and discussed what would be done, what kind of response strategy we would have, and identified areas for improvement. It was really, really good. So want to thank everybody who participated in that. It was great. And also want to mention that several of us attended the Florida League of Cities, Northeast Florida League of Cities meeting this past week, where the Florida League of Cities recognized 4 of us as home rule heroes. I wanted to recognize Dan Jansen and Fernando Meza and City Manager Mike Stepopoulos and myself, and congratulate everyone for that recognition. It is a really good recognition because it shows that that these people have worked hard through the legislative session to represent our community, and just wanted to mention that City Manager Stepopoulos and I, this is our 5th year to get it, so congratulations. And then coming up tomorrow night, I hope everybody knows that there's a meeting at Fletcher High School at 5:30 p.m. This is the DCPS community meeting where they are meeting with groups throughout the city to talk about the master facilities plan. And it's, like I said, it starts at 5:30. There's a reception at 5:30. The meeting actually starts at 6. I encourage people to go to that meeting if you can, because it's important for our beaches, schools that we know could potentially be impacted. Also want to mention that there's a Memorial Day ceremony on Monday, May 27th at 9 a.m. at the Beaches Veterans Memorial Park in Atlantic Beach. And then Jacksonville Beach is having our first ever Country Fest on June 2nd, which is a Sunday. Starts at noon and goes till 8 p.m. And we have some performers that have been on American Idol, and actually I understand that one of them won American Idol, and also a performer from The Voice. So that should be a lot of fun, and it's free. So hopefully you'll go out and enjoy it. And then there will be a town hall with Jacksonville City Councilman Roy Diamond on Wednesday, June 5th at 7 p.m. at the Beaches Branch Library. This will be a great opportunity to hear updates from him on Jacksonville issues that impact our beaches communities. And then last but not least, once again, Senate Bill 280 has not been sent to the governor yet. This is the bill that I've been talking about for quite some time. That is the vacation rental bill. And I would encourage you to please, if you haven't contacted the governor about vetoing the bill, please do so, because there's still time to do so. And I see, Mr. Wagner, you have your light on.
So I had a neat opportunity today. My wife asked me to swing by Seabreeze Elementary and pick her up a yard sign. And so I got to go into Seabreeze, which I had not been in, best I could figure, 45 years, when my mother was a vice principal there. And it was just like a really surreal and wonderful experience. And just wanted to kind of, based on that, encourage everybody to support, all the efforts that everybody's doing, support the educational efforts, to learn more about what's going on with the Duval County Public Schools and their strategies and their approach, and really help work to make sure that we're securing and taking care of our beaches. And, if you so choose, they happen to have extra yard signs, and they were super excited about people coming by and grabbing them, so please feel free. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. I think I saw some of those yard signs out near Fletcher Middle School.
They're pretty cute, aren't they?
The ones I saw were black and white. Are those-
Oh, no,
These
those
are
are not
not
the cute ones.
Oh, okay.
They're big seals.
Okay, these were advertising tomorrow night's meeting, so
Yes.
they weren't intended to be cute, I
No,
guess.
the cute ones, they actually even say Seabreeze is my choice, because the saving Seabreeze, the kids were reacting to it like somebody was hurting their school. So I thought it was really kind of a cute approach, and clearly people leading the right way.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. All right, moving to courtesy of Florida visitors, we have one card, and that is for Mr. Ken Marsh. Please state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes for your comments.
I have 7 copies, so a couple of minutes shut.
Ken Marsh, 2011 Gale Avenue. I've come here to follow up on my April 19th email regarding what do you want our downtown to be. Just recently, a news article said that Jack's City Council felt it imperative to determine why their downtown development was lagging other cities. My email stressed the same. Dolphin Depot, J&J Gallery, Sibley's all had plan designs approved years ago, and all we see are the same empty lots. The reasons are lacking. In my handout, this is just one simple template that you could use so that you could be on the same page and hopefully ask some probing questions. The reasons for delays are based on some email responses or meeting notes that I've taken. For example, what does various stages of delay mean? And more importantly, when is the project going to break ground? This is a milestone that all citizens want to see. What are the delays to the breaking ground? Could it be interest rates, competing projects, local or macroeconomic outlook? None of those causes are shown. Why did Habibi get rejected, and what can the city do to help them? Is anybody asking that question? Why are we satisfied for the reasons for Sydney that it was determined that it was a 2022 referendum? That was a year and a half ago. We need a new cause. Planning has said the city does not have any control on private development. That is a given. But a good development team should be reaching out as partners to find out how we can collectively get these projects to fruition. This is where we fail. It is not control. It is being a partner. Planning says they check on it on a regular basis. What does regular mean? Do you know that? What does checking in mean? Are we truly being partners? If we were, we would have more succinct reasons for these delays. A sense of urgency is needed in getting these projects off the ground. If we do, it will help create a vibrancy for our existing businesses. We have Jekyll Brewing, Oaxaca, Oku, Margaritaville, Springfield Suites, the new Starbucks. We need to help them be vibrant businesses. Has anyone reached out to them to see how their businesses are going? I cannot stress enough, our downtown development outreach must improve. Finally, in the last CRA meeting, it was brought up that the city must now own the Latham P3 project to move forward. This is a major shift from the intent, as it was supposed to be developer-funded. I can see the look on your face. That's what I had. Hence, why is so little? So here we are, 3 years down the road, and we've got this issue we're dealing with. We can and should do better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marsh. All right, moving on to city manager and new business, item A.
We do consent agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, now moving on to city manager and new business. Mr. Stephanopoulos, is this yours?
Yes, this first item is seeking authorization from City Council on individual council members to attend the Florida League of Cities Annual Conference, which will be coming up this August. The dates of 15th through 17th are shown up on the board. So not only do you need to select who's going, but you also need to choose who is going to be the voting delegate. I would also suggest, even though it's not up on the board, that you also select a backup in case something happens to the primary and they're not able to attend. So with that, it's open for your discussion in terms of attendance.
Okay, what we've done in the past is usually we've had anybody who's interested turn on your light if you want to go, and then that way we can come up with a list. So it looks like I'm interested, so, and Mr. Meza, you're interested, Mr. Wagner is interested, and Mr. Jansen is interested. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Oh, that way.
Oh, Mr. Sutton, you are interested? Okay, and Mr. Horn. All right, so we have Sutton, Horn, Meza, Wagner, Jansen, and Golden. And it's my understanding the mayor cannot be there, is that correct?
That's correct. The mayor will not be able to attend, in which case we have typically deferred to the mayor pro tem or vice mayor, if she is going, to be the delegate, the voting delegate. And again, I would also suggest a backup just in case an emergency arises and you cannot make it.
Okay, so can we have a motion for the officials who will be attending the conference?
I make a motion to authorize the following elected officials to attend the Florida League of Cities Annual Conference from August 15th through the 17th in Hollywood, Florida. Vice Mayor Golding, Councilman Fernanda Meza, Councilman John Wagner, Councilman Dan Jansen, Councilman Greg Sutton and Councilman Bill Horn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Council-
Do we have discussion? Okay. All right, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Meza,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Golding.
Yes. Now, do we have a nomination? As Mr. Stefopoulos mentioned, I'd be happy to be the delegate. Do we need, I guess we need to make a motion for that, and then we'll do a motion for the backup. Okay, Mr. Meza?
I make a motion to appoint Vice Mayor Golding as a voting delegate at the annual conference on behalf of the city of Jacksonville Beach.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Mr. Meza? Okay. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Meza,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Golding.
Yes. And do we want to,
I can make a motion.
I'll make a motion that Councilmember Jansen be the backup.
Second.
all right, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Meza,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Golding.
Yes. Item B.
Good evening. I am here for the Community Redevelopment Agency, Taylor Mobbs, CRA Coordinator. I am here on behalf of the Community Redevelopment Agency and the Public Art Advisory Committee. They are seeking the approval of the scope and fee for the design phase of the sea turtle sculpture. This sculpture came from a survey that went out to the community to vote on what sea life in the city piece they wanted to see first in the downtown, and the sea turtle won by a landslide. And we have reached out to local artists with Havoc Studios. They also are the ones that do the sculpture garden, and we are commissioning a piece through them for a sea turtle. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Can we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the agreement with HIVIC Studios for the design fee associated with the Sea Life in the City sea turtle sculpture.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or questions from the council? I do have one question. I didn't see it in the memo, but where is the sea turtle going to go?
So that is to be determined. We've got about 4 spaces that we've discussed. Once we get into the design specifics on the exact size, we feel like we'll kind of decide then at that point on where it'll fit best. But we've got 4 really good options in the downtown, so to be determined.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Seeing no further discussion or questions, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Meza,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Golding.
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Item C.
Mayor Pro Tem and City Council, Dennis Barron, Public Works Director. First item I have for your consideration tonight is the approval of an emergency sanitary sewer repair at 22nd Street North and 9th Avenue North to be completed by United Brothers for an amount not to exceed $1,077,022. This item we brought to you in an email about a month or so ago about a sewer collapse that we had going on, what we were doing to manage that until we could get actually somebody to be able to respond, to be able to get this repair made. In the process, we found that we had 5 other locations that had additional needs in the same area, and then ultimately we needed to respond accordingly. So on the map that you have above, the main construction area will be the red and black, or the black and yellow striped area for about that block. And then the 5 red dots all show individual sanitary sewer point repairs that have to be made as well as part of this. where the drop leg outside of the manhole has dropped down, and we've got infiltration coming into our sewer for that. And then in 2 weeks, I will be back in front of you to provide a second approval, which will cover everything in pink on that map to be slip lined to assure that we don't have any more collapses of this pipe. From our understanding, way back in 1981, this pipe was all put in by a contractor. We don't really have good history as to why we chose this HDPE plastic pipe. I don't have that information, but that seems to be the cause of the failure. Of course, it's been 43 years, 44 years, something around that time frame. So I do have somebody on board that's going to actually test a piece of that pipe to try to see if they can identify if this was a failure due to the gassing from the sewer system, or exactly what might have happened, if it's actually truly a pipe problem. But in the best interest of everything else, we figured that if we identify and fix the area that needs to be done, and then we do the slip lining, that should cover this area indefinitely into the future. And I'm here, of course, if you have any other questions.
Can we have a motion?
I'm making a motion to approve an emergency sanitary sewer repair at 22nd Street North and 9th Avenue North to be completed by United Brothers Development Corporation for an amount not to exceed $1,077,022.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion or questions from the council? I see Mr. Jansen.
Just real quick question for you, Dennis. So the funds for this project, would that normally come out of a stormwater drainage fee, or is that coming out of another pot? Or
This will actually be coming out of wastewater because it is a sanitary sewer line, so it is a sewer. So it'll actually be coming from reserves from the water sewer fund. And from finance, we have adequate reserves in that, primarily due to the excess ARPA funds that we've been able to capitalize on in the last couple of years. So we've got excess amounts to be able to use for this project.
Okay, and I guess there's going to be a cost associated, not that we need to know it right now, in 2 weeks from now with it.
It'll be a not to exceed 400,000. I think our engineer's estimate was 365,000, and we're still working on the description form, but that's the way I've got that memo written in 2 weeks.
I won't hold
Yes.
it until you come in front of us.
Mr. Meza?
Dennis, question. Obviously, this is necessary. Kimberly was meant 44 years since the last time it was repaired. The citizens, the residents that live in that area, have they been contacted and informed of, hey, what's going on?
They have. We actually have a bypass system running along that whole block right now. So there's lots of barricades, and there's manholes, there's pumps running to be able to run around our collapse, to be able to keep sewer running in the area. And then we've got guys going out every single morning to check the levels to make sure we don't have any sanitary sewer overflows that might happen due to excess flows coming in. So far, we have been close, as in within like 3 feet of the manhole lid, but I don't think it's gone any higher than that. So we've had a little bit of buffer, but we've been doing it every morning at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning to be able to check those and pump them down.
I know I haven't received any emails from residents complaining or emails about issues. As far as you know, have you heard anything?
So about a year ago, we had the same similar kind of a collapse just right outside of that manhole. It was the same kind of a drop leg, from my understanding, and the way the sewer line connected to the manhole, it dropped down, so it created a problem where we had to back up. We actually had a point repair made, and then now we have a failure that's just a little bit farther south than that. So that's why we're making the choice to go ahead and fix this in a longer section to do a repair, and then to turn around and slip line the whole entire thing, so we can come back to know that we've got a new date starting with pipe. Instead of 1981, it'll actually be 2024. So we start all over again, and hopefully get another 40, 50, 60 years. None of us will be here to be worried about it.
Thank you, Dennis.
Mr. Horn?
Yeah, I guess that's one of my questions, and you kind of alluded to it there, but what is the longevity of slip lining?
So slip lining is actually a cured-in-place pipe lining project that actually creates a new structural pipe inside of the old existing pipe. It uses the old existing pipe as the tunnel to be able to put the new insert in. So the new inserts are running, they're in excess of 50 years. So it's in essence creating a brand new sewer pipe to start all over. And there have been some that have run significantly longer than 50 years. with the new plastics and things that they're using in these slip linings.
So what we're saying is, okay, so you're saying that this has been done in the 80s and they're still up and running now?
This wasn't slip lined in the 80s, it was actually installed in the
But I'm
80s.
saying so there are areas where slip lining has been done in the 80s and it's still running, you're saying upwards of 50 years?
Yes, yes, we have slip lining out there. We have slip lining a whole bunch in the city. We use that to help prevent the I&I from the clay pipe especially. This particular project is HDPE. It requires a little different polymer to be used as part of the slip lining process. It's a few dollars more than using the clay to be able to keep it from reacting with the HDPE that's existing in there. From my understanding, as long as the pipe has still got some integrity to it, which we've already cleanly cambered all this entire section to be able to identify those other areas. So we know that it is good condition to be slip lined. It is a great candidate for it, as opposed to digging up all of those streets and then trying to replace everything in kind. That would be a very, very large project.
Okay, and that was, I guess, just, are we in the process of kind of finding, this is maybe a little past this, but are we looking for other areas that this is going to cause problems we can start doing this ahead of time so we don't come back and eat this huge cost ahead?
We do slip line. We have a slip lining program that we run about 400,000 a year's worth of slip lining. That's why I'm bringing it back to you, is we've already got our piece for this year, for 2024, already earmarked, and they're already been issued a PO to actually come out and do it, which is why I got to bring it back to you. The additional slip lining is because I've already spent the 2024 dollars, so to be able to spend the extra to be able to do this particular section, to assure it don't happen again.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Meza,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Golding.
Yes, motion carries. Item D.
Item D is also my item. This is finalizing out the 10th Street South drainage and roadway improvement project. What we've done is everything from 12th to 5th has all been redone. New sewer, new water, new curbs, new drainage, all connecting it over to 9th Street, which is where the existing drainage was at. Quite a bit of improvements in that area. If you haven't been through there, it's worth a drive. It looks completely different than it used to, with actually curb and gutter through there, public parking spaces through there, some additional stuff. When we got finished with this project, we had some unfinished things that were not thought about during this project. One of which is the leased properties that the city owns to the west side of 10th. They really have substandard utilities ran through them. So and our overage is actually a 3% overage for the project, but the two big expenses were to actually run a sewer line and a manhole back to those leased properties, as well as a water line and a fire hydrant back there, which the fire marshal was cheering on from afar, because there was no fire protection for any of those properties back there. So if anything would have happened, he would have been trying to figure out how to get a hose from 10th all the way back through these properties, where we've got ASAP Towing and various other places that rent those city-owned properties. So that and then a new sewer line to actually exit the wastewater plant. Of all things, it sounds weird, but we have to have a place to bring back water back into our system. So when we have something that doesn't necessarily meet our testing standards, this gives us an ability to be able to push it back out to the front of the plant, bring it back into the plant and reprocess it so that we don't have any substandard. Those two alone were in excess of around 300,000, and I think the total we were off for was around 300,000. So that's what we're asking for, the approval, and then close out this account. We just didn't have enough money between the amount originally set aside and the contingencies to cover that additional work.
Can we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve an additional funding allocation for the 10th Street South Drainage and Roadway Improvement Project final billing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Jansen?
Same question.
Sure.
Is it the money, this additional funds, is this coming out of reserves?
This original project was funded from ARPA funding, so we had this project on the books before to have water sewer funding, as well as some additional capital projects funding. I'm not sure where she actually finalized this out of, to be honest with you. See if I can find it real quick. It looks like she's pulling the remainder out of the general capital projects fund. That's also the same fund where those leased costs, the amount of money we collect for those leases actually goes into that capital project, so this makes an ideal candidate for spending some of those funds that we actually get for that lease properties, because a lot of it was improvements on that property, so.
Very good, thank you.
Seeing no further questions or discussion, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Meza,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Golding.
Yes, motion carries. Moving on to resolutions A.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Ashley Gossett, CFO. The item for your consideration tonight is a revision to the Beaches Energy electric rates. Beaches Energy works diligently to maintain and rebuild our electric distribution system in order to provide the reliability that our customers expect. After conducting an internal rate review, the staff is proposing an increase to the non-fuel portion of the rate to offset the rising operating and capital construction costs. At the same time, we are reducing our bulk power cost adjustment, or the pass-through cost of power, so that the net effect to our customers will be an overall minor decrease in their monthly electric bills. The chart on the screen, the memo was prepared in April, so we have the April, May, June rates. We're steadily reducing our bulk power cost adjustment, the third line. And then in August, we're proposing an increase to the kilowatt hour charge and a decrease again to the bulk power cost adjustment. So the overall decrease to our customers over this 5-month window is actually $5.93, or 4.5% savings. So the bulk power cost adjustment is handled administratively, but we need council to approve the change in the kilowatt hour charge. Beaches Energy is still working to conduct a full rate study that will come before council in the next fiscal year, but we wanted to kind of make these minor changes when the opportunity presents itself. I also wanted to call out a small revision in the resolution that's on page 3 of 5 of the resolution, and section 2, item A4. What used to be called rental lights, we are proposing to rename it outdoor lighting services. This is a precursor to something that you guys will see in the next month or so, where we want to update our street light rates that haven't been updated since 2005. When we come back to council, we can give more details about that, but we wanted to go back through our ordinance, our resolutions, our rate tariffs, and anywhere we said rental lights, we wanted to start renaming them to accurately reflect the service we provide. Director Putnam is here, and he and I are both happy to answer any questions you might have about the resolution.
Thank you, Ms. Gossett. Madam Clerk, can you read the resolution by title, please?
A resolution of the City of Jacksonville Beach, Florida, to revise electric rates for Beaches Energy Services, providing for adoption of recitals, repeal of prior inconsistent resolutions and council decisions, severability, and an effective date.
Can I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve, or rather adopt, resolution number 2173-2024, revising electric rates for Beaches Energy Services.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion or questions from the council? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, can you do the roll call, please?
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Meza,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Golding.
Yes, motion carries. Resolution B.
Good evening, Trevor Hughes, Chief of Parks Development and Maintenance, City of Jacksonville Beach. It's an honor to present 3 applications tonight for our honorary street signs, specifically for the fallen wartime veteran. We have 3 candidates. Private First Class, Clarence E. Hurst, United States Marine Corps. Private First Class, William L. Lester Robinson, U.S. Army. Specialist 5, Jimmy E. Keith, killed in the Vietnam War. All three of our applicants have met the requirements. Locations have all been approved by the Public Works Department. These three applicants are also all interned at the Warrens Point Cemetery here in Jacks Beach.
Thank you, Trevor. Madam Clerk, can you read the resolution by title, please?
A resolution of the City of Jacksonville Beach, Florida, approving applications and honorary street name designation sign locations for fallen wartime military veterans under the honorary street sign designation policy, authorizing sign installation, providing for adoption of recitals, repeal of prior inconsistent resolutions and council decisions, severability, and an effective date.
We have one speaker card, and that is Lenny Jevick. Mr. Jevick, if you can state your name and your address, you'll have 3 minutes for your comments. Thank you.
Lenny Jevick, 239 Seminole Road, Atlantic Beach, Florida. I'm the Beaches Veterans Memorial Park historian. I'm also founded the Beaches Signs of Honor program. I'd like to invite everyone to our Memorial Day service ceremony at the Beaches Veterans Memorial Park on Monday, May the 27th at 9 a.m. We'd love to have everybody that's watching attend that. I come here tonight to speak and urge you all to approve the 3 nominations. We've had, between the 3 beaches, Atlantic Beach, Neptune Beach, and Jacks Beach, 52 fallen heroes that left and never returned. If you put that in perspective, behind me is only 20 people. It would take up the rest of the empty seats in here, plus we would need some more. Thankful to Jacksonville Beach City Council for previously approving so many of the signs. Molly Gallagher, who was with me from the beginning, who was instrumental. I think it was the first week on the job here in Jacks Beach, and Trevor and Jason's been phenomenal with this. The 3 heroes that I've nominated, Private First Class Clarence Hurst, he, World War II, he was on the USS Wasp when it was torpedoed and sunk. He survived that, only to meet his demise when he was fatally injured in the Battle of Okinawa. He was hit by a phosphorus round, 90% degree burns on his body, and he went into a coma and never recovered. He was only 23 years old. His mother, and they lived on 330 Pablo Avenue. Korean War hero is William Lester Robinson. William Lester Robinson was only 19 years old, 7 days in country, when he was in his foxhole, when he saw 4 enemy combatants try to sneak up, ambush several of his fellow soldiers in another foxhole. He left the safety of his foxhole and engaged them immediately, killing 2 of them, allowing the other 2 to be killed by the 2 he saved. Unfortunately, William Lester was killed during that attack. He was posthumously awarded the Silver Star for his heroic actions. He was a member of the VFW along with Clarence Hurst, VFW 3270, and with me tonight I got Commander Bill Hugh, who's the commander of VFW 3270. He's also sponsoring those 2 signs if approved. The last hero is Specialist 5 Jimmy Keith, U.S. Army. He was a quarryman in the Vietnam War. They were responsible for crushing the rocks to make roadways and get the troops moving where they need to go. He extended in country because he didn't want to leave his fellow comrades there alone. He accidentally fell into a rock crusher and was killed and never returned home. At our Memorial Day ceremony, 2 of his sisters will be our guests of honor, and 16 of his family members will be attending. So I urge you to support that, and I thank you for your support. If these 3 are approved, that brings them up to a total of 30 signs and 30 fallen heroes that we have honored throughout the 3 beaches. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jevick. Can we have a motion?
I move that we adopt resolution number 2175-2024, approving the honorary street name designation applications for fallen wartime military veterans and honorees Keith, Robinson, and Hurst.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Jansen.
Lenny, I just want to extend my sincere gratitude of all the work that you've done thus far and that you continue to do for our military heroes. It's admirable work, and it's very heartfelt. Thank you so much.
Mr. Beza.
I would echo the same thing what my fellow council member said. It's very fitting. We're approving this right before Memorial Day weekend, where we honor those that made the ultimate sacrifice. As a former Navy vet myself, I've had many hard decisions on this dais, but one of the easiest ones and one of the ones that I always enjoy is voting in favor of this. And honestly, I can't tell who on this dais or any dais in the future who vote no for this. But thank you very much, and to our vets and those who have gone before us, I thank them every day. Thank you.
Mr. Wagner.
And I just want to pile on, just thank you so much for all that you do. This is fabulous, and it's right, we are a Navy town, military city, and just, warriors like you helping make sure that we recognize all of our fallen warriors. It's just fabulous, so thank you.
And I'll just add, thank you, Lenny. You have been coming to us with a lot of, a lot of candidates, which is sad. And, it really, when I read this and I saw that they were 19, 21, and 23, it's unfathomable, that we would have kids, dying so young. But appreciate everything you do to recognize their sacrifice, and hopefully these signs will remind everybody in our community of them as well. So, seeing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Beza?
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton?
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner?
Yes.
Councilmember Horn?
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Golding?
Yes, motion carries. Moving on to ordinances, item A.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and Council. Heather Ireland, Planning and Development Director. Just wanted to say a few things real quick before I turn it over to Kimberly Horn. We're going to pick up where we left off, and we're going to, Blair's going to present to you the 3 new components of the comp plan that we made per your requests at the last meeting on May 6th regarding our local public schools, and just point out a couple other things, but I will be here for any follow-up questions that you guys have. Thank you, Blair. Evening, thank you, Blair Knight and Kimberly Horn. You should have in your packet our suggested changes from last time to the public schools element. We adjusted a vision and a strategy and an intent. We think that those addressed y'all's concerns, and if you have any questions about that, let me know. And then Councilmember Golding did bring one thing to our attention. We appreciate that. There is a Scribner's error instead of state in policy strategy FLU 1.5.1. It should say Senate Bill 102, not state statute. And it also should say and chapter 420 state statute as amended. And then while we were updating this, that bill changed and they struck residential. So we're going to strike that from the language. And just kind of tweak the language because it really just needs to just follow exactly what the Senate bill says, which is zoned for commercial, mixed use, or industrial. So we're just fixing that language, Scribner's kind of errors. So, any other questions on the transmittal?
We'll go to questions in just a moment. Madam Clerk, can you read the ordinance by title, please?
An ordinance of the City of Jacksonville Beach, Florida, transmitting proposed amendments to the 2030 Comprehensive Plan, and also transmitting a new map series and data and analysis to the state of Florida's various agencies for review and comment, providing for adoption of said amendments and adopting a 2050 Comprehensive Plan with visions, intents, and strategies upon receipt of said comments, and completion of the state review process, providing directions to the Planning and Development Department, providing for purpose and intent, providing for conflict, establishing severability, and providing an effective date.
This ordinance for the amendment to the text of the 2030 Comprehensive Plan is before this council for a public hearing and adoption on its second reading. Or is it first? First reading, sorry. Under the laws of the state of Florida, an ordinance which changes the text of any element of the city's 2030 Comprehensive Plan is a quasi-legislative proceeding. A quasi-legislative proceeding means that a governing body is acting in its rulemaking capacity. It is the duty of the council to arrive at sound decisions regarding proposed changes to the text of the adopted 2030 Comprehensive Plan. This includes receiving citizen input regarding any proposed text change. The application has been reviewed by staff and the Planning Commission for consistency with other portions of the comprehensive plan. The council may hear from all interested parties in the legislative determination of an amendment to the text of the city's 2030 Comprehensive Plan. The council's decision on a comprehensive plan amendment application is based on the criteria set forth in section 34-182 of the Land Development Code. Each member of the council has been provided a copy of the criteria. I now open the public hearing on ordinance number 2024-8214. Let's see. So I have one speaker card on ordinance A, Georgette Dumont. Please give us your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Georgette Dumont, 507 16th Avenue South, Jax Beach. It's kind of a two-part. One is a process, you know I'm always talking about process, just for how the meetings was run. So now that we have a new city attorney, or another new city attorney, so welcome. I'm hoping that we can make sure that the people on the boards are trained. There was no opportunity for public comment when this was in front of the Planning Commission on the 22nd. So the public did not have an opportunity to have any input at that time. So, and that's just a basic training thing, so if we can just make sure that the boards are all up and trained, once you're settled in, that would be a lovely thing. And then the only other piece is, I did set there, one of the maps has the roads wrong. It says 16th on 13th South, and I sent that screenshot to Heather, so that should be updated as well. Thank you.
Does the applicant wish to respond to any comments?
Just the one about the Planning Commission. Our chair did not receive any speaker cards, but did ask if there was anyone at the meeting that wished to speak, and there wasn't. So there was no public comment because no one had any. No one was there.
I apologize. We do have written correspondence that needs to be read into the record.
If I could just briefly point this out. The public notice that went out on this item includes some language that had been used during when public meetings were in the middle of COVID. But nonetheless, the public notice did say that written public comments will be entered into the record at the appropriate time and will be limited to 3 minutes of reading time. We did receive an email and a request for it to be read, so up to 3 minutes. I would ask the city clerk to read that with the 3-minute timer.
This is correspondence from Valerie S. Britt. Residence is 506 15th Avenue North, Jacksonville Beach. For May 20th, 2024 council meeting. For consideration upon receipt and at the continuation of the public hearing meeting noticed for the May 6th, 2024 council meeting on the proposed consideration of amendment and for transmittal of the proposed 2050 comprehensive plan. Such meeting as continued and scheduled for May 20th, 2024. I submit for the May 20th, 2024 meeting of council written comments on the proposed 2050 comprehensive plan as attached here, and in addition, since not completely resolved and some unaddressed, I resubmit by reference here all my previous comments, recommendations, and objections sent to the mayor, city council, director of planning and development regarding the proposed 2050 comprehensive plan. Whether that 2050 comprehensive plan was, is, or will be referenced, named, or considered as a replacement, update, rewrite, amendments, or by any other name or purpose. Jacksonville Beach did not do an evaluation and appraisal report. The consultant's introduction on the website said replacement. Many of my questions and issues about the replacement or rewrite or update or amendment of the 2030 plan hinge on the city not doing an EAR to determine and document needs for those changes. With the 2030 plan based on outdated population data and the 2030 plan no longer having a 10-year planning timeframe, I recognized a need for review. Although Blair and Heather apparently met and corresponded privately, and although there were many presentations of their behind-the-scenes decisions labeled as workshops, most of the public presentations and the minimal comments made were related to implementing land development regulations, not on major revisions to the comprehensive plan. With no EAR prepared locally, and with no strikes or underlines of the proposed 2050 comprehensive plan to show the changes proposed, and with all goals, objectives, and policies having disappeared, I feel there has been a lack of transparency. Since there are no GOPs in the proposed 2050 comprehensive plan, its appearance is that of a replacement. Without the EAR, I would expect to do so. Was new marina mixed-use category added to the 2030 plan? Or is the staff report correct that a new marina category is not added until the proposed rewrite or update or replacement proposed to be transmitted by ordinance 2024-8214 to become the 2050 comprehensive plan after adoption?
Time's up. All right, does the applicant wish to respond to any of the comments that were just read?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Before requesting a motion on this ordinance, beginning with myself, each of the members is requested to indicate for the record both the names of persons and the substance. An ex parte communication refers to any meeting or discussion with a person or citizen who may have an interest in this decision which occurred outside of the public hearing process. Starting with myself, I had emails from Ms. Britt, and that was all I had.
Emails from Ms. Britt. Emails from Ms. Britt.
Same.
Emails from Ms. Britt.
Emails from Ms. Britt.
Okay, can I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve ordinance number 2024-8214 on the first reading to transmit the 2050 comprehensive plan to the state agencies for official review and schedule a second reading for a future date to be determined.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Before opening the floor for discussion or questions by the council, please be reminded that our decision will be based on the criteria set forth in the Land Development Code, staff's report, the recommendation of the Planning Commission, and the public input at all hearings. Now, I now open the floor for discussion or questions by the council. Seeing none, Madam Clerk, can we have the roll call?
Councilmember Sutton?
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner?
Yes.
Councilmember Horn?
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen?
Yes.
Councilmember Meza?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Golding?
Yes, motion carries. Ordinance B.
Good evening, Christian Bapoli, Senior Planner. As this is the second reading of this item, I'm just going to give you a quick, brief summary. This is a RD redevelopment rezoning request for the properties located at 125 Fifth Avenue North 129 Fifth Avenue North, 135 Fifth Avenue North, 0 First Street North, and 602 First Street North. As you know, this is the location of the existing Mango's bar, and then the property is immediately to the west on the same block. At the last meeting, there were some conditions that were discussed. Staff came up with proposed conditions that are in the ordinance, but just to go over them briefly. Project shall utilize enhanced pedestrian elements along First Street side of the property, including but not limited to enhanced landscaping to include shade trees, bike parking, art pieces, pod seating, and trash cans. And pod seating is referring to the benches that the CRA has been installing. The second one is the property will only have one bar or drinking establishment on site. And the third is that the restaurant will not use any public parking for valet parking.
Madam Clerk, can you read the ordinance by title, please?
An ordinance of the City of Jacksonville Beach, Florida, establishing a redevelopment district, RD zoning district, within the City of Jacksonville Beach, Florida, as provided under Chapter 34 of the Code of Ordinances of said city, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, severability, and an effective date.
This ordinance to amend the RD rezoning or RD zoning regulations of a property is before the council for a public hearing and consideration on its second reading. Under the laws of the state of Florida, an application to amend the zoning regulations or map governing a specific property or development site is handled as a quasi-judicial proceeding. A quasi-judicial proceeding means the city council is now functioning in a manner similar to a court, with the mayor and council sitting as impartial decision makers, hearing testimony and questioning presenters who are to provide substantial and competent evidence to support their side of the issue. It is the duty of the council to arrive at sound decisions regarding the use of property within the city. This includes receiving citizen input regarding the proposed use on the neighborhood, especially where the input is fact-based and not a simple expression of opinion. It is the applicant's burden to demonstrate that their application is consistent with the Land Development Code and the Comprehensive Plan. If the applicant is successful in showing consistency, then it is up to the local government to produce competent, substantial evidence record that the application should be denied. The council's decision on a zoning amendment application is based on the criteria set forth in Section 34-211 of the Land Development Code. Each member of the council has been provided a copy of the criteria. In addition, the council has received a copy of the application and Community Redevelopment Agency recommendations on this RD zoning amendment request. I will now open the public hearing on ordinance number 2024-8213. Does the applicant have a presentation?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I'm Ryan Duggan, 1301 Wood Place Boulevard, Suite 1500, the attorney for the applicant. I just want to say we stand by the competent substantial evidence in your staff report, and the applicant, Mr. Seg, agrees to the 3 proposed conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one speaker card, and that is Georgette Dumont. You know the name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Georgia Dumont, 507 16th Avenue South, Jax Beach, Florida, 32250. I have handed out proposed language for another amendment to this application. If you look at the permitted uses, one piece was that it would be permitted, that they would be absolved from the, I want to make sure that the 25% area for the outside patio. This is with regard to parcel 2, which is currently Mango's. So in their application, they're asking that the area of the patio, it can be larger than 25%. However, it doesn't say how much larger than 25%. So, for example, you could put a patio up on the roof and you'd have over 100% of outdoor seating in relation to the indoor bar space. So what I have asked for is to amend number 8 to say instead of The outdoor seating area for any such use may exceed 25%. Again, you have no limit in this. I changed that to not exceed 50% of the total enclosed area of the bar. And that's very generous because it's 25% if it's a bar, 50% if it's a restaurant. And so they should be able to do what they say that they want to do in the plan by allowing it up to 50% for the bar. Just to give you a sense, the current outdoor patio is roughly 1,155 square feet. By code, it should, if it was conforming, it would be 25% of the current indoor space would only be 694 square feet. So it's already more than what would have normally been allowed. And so this would be an additional what they'd be allowed. So at 50%, the outdoor space would come to 1,386.5 square feet. So it would be larger than their current outdoor footage. Thank you.
Those are the only speaker cards that I have, so would the applicant like to respond?
Yes, thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Again, our application is tied to the site plan and plan views that are in the application, as well as the written description where the language is that she's referring, but we also have this binding site plan. So I think her concern is unfounded. If we had had a chance to talk before, the second council meeting, we might have been able to work through that, I should say. So we're not inclined to agree to this change here at the 11th hour when you have the assurance that there's a binding site plan. Thank you.
I apologize, I need to open the floor for testimony from the public besides the speaker cards. If you want to be heard on this application and have filled out a speaker card, please step up, state your name and address before providing your comment, which can include whether you are for or against the application. And do we have any other speakers who would like to speak for or against this application? Okay, apologize for that mistake. City Attorney or Director of Planning and Development, do you wish to respond to any of the comments?
Just to reiterate something that we've spoken about before, the site plan includes a specific parking calculation, so anything that would exceed what they're proposing in outside seating would be accounted for in parking, and therefore they would either have to come back and adjust their parking calculations or potentially buy themselves out of those extra parking spaces. So I think the fear that they're going to be doing a lot more outdoor seating is not going to exceed what they're showing because they can't, because they don't have room for any more parking.
Okay, seeing no further comments, I'm going to close the public hearing. Before requesting a motion on this ordinance, beginning with myself, each of the members is requested to indicate for the record whether the member has had any ex parte communications on the matter, and if so, disclose the names of persons and the substance of the communications regarding this application. An ex parte communication refers to any meeting or discussion with a person or citizen who may have an interest in this decision, which occurred outside of the public hearing process. Written ex parte communications, whether sent to one member or all members, do not have to be disclosed on the record, but must be made part of the record by sending or forwarding them to the city clerk. Starting with myself, I know we don't have to disclose it, but I did get an email from Mr. Duggan, and then I also had ex parte communication with Ms. Dumont regarding the outdoor dining proposal that she just presented to us.
None. Except for an email from Mr. Duggan, Mr. Wyman, none.
None.
I did receive an email from Mr. Duggan.
None.
Okay, can we have a motion, please?
I move that we adopt ordinance number 2024-8213 on the second reading for approval of a rezoning for property located at 602 North 1st Street and 135, 129, and 123 North 5th Avenue to redevelopment district RD.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion or questions from the council? Mr. Sutton?
Mr. Foley, your comment that you made, Ms. Dumont gave an example of what if they happen to want to construct a deck on top of the business. I mean, in that scenario, I think they would be far exceeding.
Yeah, I mean, they would be adding quite a bit more
And
space.
they wouldn't be taking away any of their parking.
No, but they would have to account for the additional parking that that extra space would create. So that would be additional habitable space and would require additional parking spaces that they basically don't have room for.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Horn?
I mean, under the permitting, can that occur? Can they build a big deck on the top?
I mean, it's not something that's proposed in the site plan. I would have to speak to the attorney whether it was intended or not, but again, there are fundamental consequences of doing that that aren't addressed in the RD rezoning. So at some point, it would have to be either addressed through, like I said, buying their way out of parking, which has a pretty high per space cost, or figuring out a different way to lay out the property so they can account for that additional parking. But it hasn't been their intent in this process.
All right, thank you. So currently, Mr. Popoli, that they're not far from 50% now.
Right, and it's a non-conforming use. I don't know the entire square footage of what they're proposing, but keep in mind they are expanding the footprint of the building as well with the men's room, so that will change that calculation as well. I don't have those numbers in front of me, but
Mr. Sutton, are you done? Okay. I apologize once again. I need to read this as well. Please be reminded that our decision will be based on the criteria set forth in the Land Development Code, and the council is required to approve a clear statement of specific findings of fact, stating the basis upon which such facts were determined and the decision was made. Any other questions or discussion by the council? Mr. Meza?
Yes, more of a comment. I know I've been here for a long time, and I've seen some old buildings being torn down, and they become either new places, new residential units, or new businesses. It's sad to see old buildings go, but it's good to see redevelopment come up. I know some buildings have been blighted and torn down, become better eyesore, I guess. So, looking forward to this project. I think it will enhance downtown, what we're trying to do. Hopefully, we have Oaxaca, we have Jekyll, which is a great addition. We have Oku. So I'm hoping whatever restaurant comes in, it will be a nice, fancy area for people to enjoy and have a good time. Thank you.
Seeing no further questions or discussion, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Meza,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Golding.
Yes, motion carries. Moving to ordinance C.
Steve Shadow, Jacksonville Beach Fire Marshal. This ordinance is to adopt, the second reading to adopt the Florida Fire Prevention Code, the 8th edition, which is required by the state of Florida for us to do.
Thank you, Steve. Madam Clerk, can you read the ordinance by title, please?
An ordinance of the City of Jacksonville Beach, Florida, amending City Code of Ordinances, Chapter 10, Article 3, Section 10-3.03, Codes Adopted, providing for adoption of recitals and legislative findings, repeal of conflicting ordinances, severability, scrivener's errors, codification, and an effective date.
This ordinance is before this council for a public hearing and consideration on its second reading. I will now open the public hearing on ordinance number 2024-8215. I don't have any speaker cards, but do we have anyone in the audience who would like to speak for or against this ordinance? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Can we have a motion, please?
I make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2024-8215 on the second reading, amending Chapter 10, Fire and Life Safety, Article 3, Fire Prevention and Life Safety, Section 10-3.03, Codes adopted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions or discussion from the council? Mr. Meza.
Mr. Fire Marshal, comment, question later. Comment, a couple weeks ago, was it a week ago, with the fire sprinkler system at the Metropolitan?
When it fell? Yeah, the pictures you sent me?
Yeah,
Yes.
so this is perfect timing. You and, what's the other chief, I can never pronounce it.
Saturday.
Yes, they were great, they responded. Obviously, it's not their job to fix the fire sprinkler system, but they did get it fixed right away, so that's good. Now with this, is there a way to make sure that I know you go and inspect the buildings, and I know the companies that they hire.
They get the annual inspections.
Yes, annual inspections.
Yes.
Now, obviously,
the hangers were just missed, and the hangers were what failed in that. And what I've done with that, I sent them a notice back, telling them I'd like to get all the hangers replaced, and the pipe's pretty clear, I want to get the pipes replaced. Now, to what extent I can actually enforce all of that to, they'll go and get an evaluation done by their fire sprinkler provider and evaluate each strap, and we'll get the corrections made to do that.
because I know, obviously we have some high-rise condos here with outdoor parking, and I know they have sprinkler systems, so I just want to make sure that
It's a very common problem with piping corrosion with the ocean there. Your pipe inside of your building, and we've got to watch that. And you know how well the rust and everything, corrosion attacks them. Yeah, it was a failure and should have been caught before. They don't send me, I haven't seen their annual reports or quarterly reports from their fire provider, their fire sprinkler provider in there. And I said we could hold that and see what they were noting when they were doing all their quarterly inspections on the pipe.
Okay, I just want to make sure that these condos or businesses are actually fixing those sprinkler systems. Last thing we wanted is something bad to happen.
Oh yeah, when they get notice from me, yeah, they jump right on it. They're good about it.
All right, thank you.
Do we have any other questions or discussion by the council? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Meza,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Golding.
Yes, motion carries. Moving to ordinance D.
Good evening, council. This is the second reading for proposed amendments to the charter. The first reading was at the previous meeting, and based on the board's previous city council meeting, based on the board's direction, changes have been made to the ordinance proposing amendments to the charter. Question 2 was removed from the ordinance, as well as a corresponding whereas clause that related to the former question 2. The edits requested have been made to question 1. And if anyone needs any more specificity on these changes, I'd be happy to discuss them with you further.
Madam Clerk, can you read the ordinance by title, please?
An ordinance of the City of Jacksonville Beach, Florida, submitting to the electors of Jacksonville Beach proposed amendments to the Charter of the City of Jacksonville Beach, providing ballot titles, summaries, and text for the proposed amendments, providing directions to the city clerk, providing for severability, providing for an effective date for approved amendments, providing for an effective date for the ordinance.
This ordinance is before this council for a public hearing and consideration on its second reading. I will now open the public hearing on ordinance number 2024-8216. I do not have any speaker cards, but does anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against this ordinance? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. And can we have a motion?
I make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2024-8216 on second reading, submitting to the electors of the City of Jacksonville Beach proposed amendments to the City of the Jacksonville Beach Charter.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions or comments or discussion from the council? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Meza,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Golding.
Yes, motion carries. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
I make a motion for adjournment.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming tonight. Have a wonderful